Smoking banned for teenagers. Welcome to Mark and Pete. You know, if you wait long enough, a vice doesn't disappear, it just gets legislated. Yes, we are Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
From over-the-counter to vending machines, cigarettes are an addictive habit across all scenes. So simply help the health crisis by legal means and bang young folk in their nicotines. Yes, it's going to happen. Yes, children aged 17 or younger will face a lifelong ban on buying cigarettes. And that covers everything from tobacco products, vapes, and many other things. Well, the Commons and the Lords have settled on a draft of the landmark legislation, and this is aimed at people born after the 1st of January 2009. What a dramatic move. Some people will say many generations too late. Mr. Pete, I ask you, what say you about this? And do you think it's a good idea that now we are going to potentially be on the cusp of banning smoking and related products to teenagers?
It looks like that. And here, again, there's a conundrum that we and Mark and Pete face. We hate too much intervention and interference from the government. But we also want to have teenagers not getting hooked on tobacco. So, it's difficult. It makes it a difficult decision. Is this a good thing to ban teenagers from smoking? I'm leaning towards saying, yes, it is a good thing. In fact, I would go further. Maybe it should be banned for everyone, but that would maybe I understand the arguments the other way, that if you ban tobacco, it makes people seek it out in other ways. If you ban a drug, it makes people seek it out in other ways. When alcohol was banned under prohibition in part of the United States, the whole industry in illegal alcohol was sprang up. So, it seems like I'm leaning towards it's a good thing, but I'm not there yet, not there supporting it yet, because I see that the problem with when governments interfere in things, it usually makes things worse. And in this case, will it make teenagers seek out tobacco products in more dangerous and illicit ways if they're banned from buying it? That's my problem.
Well, yes, I can sort of see this. I suppose taking the government's view. So this is the Health Minister, Baroness Meron, told the Lords recently. It is, in fact, the biggest public health intervention in a generation. And she could assure all noble lords it will save lives. So the idea being is if you ban tobacco, cigarettes, vapes, and things like that as a bill, it might upset some people, and including, of course, retailers, because that's one of the areas we need to explore. This is going to be a big hole in their revenue stream. So I can see the benefits, particularly to the burden on the health NHS. More and more people coming out of the system because they don't have cigarette or tobacco-related illnesses. That's a good thing. But then the question really is that vice. Human beings do turn to some strange things. Are we potentially sort of opening up the doors to other vices, whether that be more harder drugs, for example? Is that the problem with this move?
Well, I also see that. It's one of those things that I see the argument. I'm just not sure of it. Is there really a link between people smoking tobacco and smoking forms of marijuana, which obviously is a different drug and has its own different issues? Is that the links have been explored? There's conflicting evidence. In fact, a lot of research shows that nicotine is more dangerous than some of these other drugs, including marijuana.
Yep.
The evidence is not conclusive. Let's put it that way. And so the government is in a difficult position. As I say, I'm leaning towards this being a good thing, especially as teenagers. If they're not being advertised to about tobacco, you'd think it would be might well be able to see what a ridiculous, stupid idea it is to smoke at all. They may be, it may be
Right.
the legal advertising and the availability of the product is the problem. I would say it's worth trying. Maybe a local experiment may be the way forward.
Well, I think there's been a lot of progress. I mean, if we go back in time, the idea that at one time people smoked in an office where there were lots of people working away. Now, whether you were a smoker or not, you were a passive smoker potentially, or that you were an actual smoker. But,
Yeah.
times have changed. So in some ways, we've cleaned up our act in many ways. We've also cleaned up our act on public transport. So smoking on a plane or a bus or a train, etc. So I think all of those sort of things have been good measures, even to the point of being able to smoke outside of hospitals. That's been sort of shifted, and there's measures to stop that happening. So I think there's some good things there. I mean, to me, I think that. Where I have the concern is, and we've seen this already, there have been breaking stories in recent times, in recent weeks, basically, where stores, that says retail stores, have turned their attentions to harder drugs because if tobacco is going to be banned, they need another revenue stream. Now, I'm not suggesting and advocating they should do that, but I can see that if the revenue stream is not going to be there, many people, certainly those corner stores, have relied heavily on tobacco to sort of get their revenue in, and I can see that this is going to be potentially a threat. But I think this is more of a broader picture because, of course, the economy is poor, and that in itself is a different matter. But when it comes to helping a generation, educating a generation that you don't need to smoke, to your rather blunt point, why
Yes.
would you do it in the first place? Well, the trouble is there's been social pressures, but I think the social pressures have changed. When you and I were teenagers, there was a certain sort of pressure to smoke to make you
There
feel as though
was.
you were more adult. Whereas
True.
today, maybe it's not seen in the same light. So I think that is a good thing, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I lean towards the biblical view. This is from 1 Corinthians 10:23. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. You can give people have as teenagers be able to buy tobacco. They may have the right to smoke, but that doesn't mean they should do it. And banning, as I say, I'm leaning towards it, but I see the issues. And the issues are that it might make it more attractive because it's banned. That's one of the issues. And that going the other way, pointing how it's old people that smoke. Really, it's boring
Mm.
people that smoke. It's people you don't want to be like who smoke. People with yellowing hair and yellowing fingertips and parchment-like
Teeth.
skin. They're the ones, and yellowing teeth. Those are the ones who smoke. Pointing out, I think the health. Benefits of giving up smoking has been effective, but it needs to be more than that. It needs to show just how ridiculous it is. And I think once that gets across, once people don't want to smoke, then you're on a winning ticket. Banning it, well, I think it needs more research into this to see how effective it is. I think I think if it's effective, yeah, I'd go for it.
Well, as I can see that many people will have different views. There will be a lot of smokers, listeners, who've been smoking throughout their life. So it would be very good to sort of understand what their thoughts are on this. But I'm very much more in favor for a generation to stop smoking and hopefully stop this social drag.